All right, I'm going to give you all half a second to look at those. Actually, let me pause again, even though I don't technically need it today, but I'm trying to do them every day. So we're going to save this out real quick. Export. Y'all remind me at the end of the class that I need to export my notes. Y'all can be helpful humans, can't you?
Are we going to get homework today?
Almost certainly. It's like Wednesday. You're probably going to get like a whole mountain of homework. Like a literal mountain. Just kidding. But you'll definitely have some. I would be willing to bet on that.
My brother punched me in the back and now it hurts really bad. You're looking into it, actually. I'm going to stab me in the back with the dull
Okay. So we're going to do some more two-step equations, but we're going to do ones that look different than what we've seen so far. And some with fractions.
No!
Y'all love fractions. I know they're your favorite.
Why am I the only one with that?
Because you were the only one not in science class today, apparently.
Oh.
Because you're a slacker. No, just kidding. Or you read it yourself. Oh, you're whatever science curriculum you're doing. Yeah. Is it great? Do you love it? What are you learning about in your science class? Bugs?
Can't remember.
Can't remember. Oh. That means either the science is bad or you are. No, just kidding.
Most likely the second one.
No, quit lying. All right. So we're going to do two-step equations, part 2.
Two.
Part 2. Okay. All right. Gas.
I've done that for a while, so I have to do it.
Oh, okay. Some examples. We'll start off with something like what we've seen before to kind of get us jump started. So let's do -2 minus 6x, equals 10. Go. Solve the thing. Do it. Do it. Make it happen. Go. It's not a quiz. You can use your notes. You can ask for help.
Do we do this side first or that side?
The left side. I would start with the -2. You can do the 6, but it'll make your life more difficult.
Why?
Because you have to deal with more fractions. That's why.
This is a two-step equation.
It is a two-step equation.
So you would add 2?
Yes, you would. That's right. Are y'all starting to get the hang of things? OMG. I didn't say master. I'm just starting to get it, right?
But we're supposed to add 2.
Yes, you are. That's right.
Are you supposed to bring down -6?
Yes, ma'am. That's right. That's exactly right. Negatives. You bring down -6x.
Anyway.
That's exactly right.
Divide with -6.
By the way, just to get your fear brain working, we're probably going to have a test next week. Nothing to be afraid of, though, because it'll be solving equations, and y'all are great at it.
Is this a new lesson, or is
It is a new lesson. But it's part 2 of the old lesson. So 2 step equations, part 2.
But after you bought -6 and an x, did you put 2 lines on it?
Yes. Because you're going to divide it. But would you divide? How would you divide x? You're not dividing x off. You want x to stay where it is. So you're going to divide off that -6. In fact, you're going to do that.
I just wrote it down.
Well,
I just wrote it down.
Nosebleeds for the win. So where are your questions on that one? Does anybody have any questions on that one?
Not for the win. They're inconvenient.
I used to get nosebleeds all the time. My son has inherited that. He gets them all the time now.
I do too.
As I've gotten older, I haven't gotten them as much, but
I've only gotten once.
Every time it gets even a little slightest bit dry, every time I have like a cough, then
yeah, I used to do the same.
When I was little, one time I banged my face on the playground equipment, and it took like half a roll of the like industrial size like paper towels
To take care of it,
in, like schools and
right?
Stuff to get it done because apparently my nose hates me.
Capillaries. So any questions on this problem, ladies and gentlemen?
Gentle. Why can't it be both?
Because the proper word for that is ladies. Ladies and gentlemen. Goober man. All right. So I'm not hearing any questions, so let's look at number 2. Let's change it up a little. Are you ready? It might get scary. We're going to do a plus 8 all over -2 equals 7.
Oh, that's fun.
All right, so this is still a 2-step equation, believe it or not. It looks scarier, right? Because of that crazy line under there. Now that -2, what does this line mean again?
Division.
It means division, right? Okay, so that -2 is divided into everything. So we can go ahead and get rid of that -2 first. So what's the opposite of division? Multiplication. So we're going to times -2 on both sides. So times -2, and then over here we're going to times -2, right? And then those -2's will cancel. And then we bring down everything we haven't touched, right? So we're going to bring down a plus 8 equals, and then 7 times -2 is what?
-14.
-14. So now, how are we going to get rid of that 8? It's the last thing we got to do.
-8.
We're going to -8. We're going to subtract it. That's all correct. It's 8 minus 8. We're going to minus it. So we haven't touched the A, and it's all by itself, so we're basically about done. So it's -14 minus 8. Watch your signs and your rules. That one's a little bit sneaky. Are the signs the same or different? They're the same. They both got a negative. Okay, so if the sign's the same, do we add or subtract? Add and keep the sign. So 14 plus 8 is 22. So our answer is -22. How we doing? Pretty good?
I am doing good.
But is that negative?
It's a -8, which is the same thing as plus a negative, remember? So either way, they're both negative. And that's what we've got to get in our thing. That seems to be our main stumbling block in here. We got to get that one in our head somehow. Minus is the same as plus a negative. Same thing. All right, let's do a number 3. Number 3. All right, let's do something a little bit crazy. Let's do 3/4 y minus 2. Actually, you know what? Let's do this one as a one step first. Let's practice with the fractions without extra bits for now, because we haven't really practiced that yet. So let's trim it down. So let's do 3/4 y equals, we'll say negative. How about we do an improper fraction over here, because it's what's coming to my brain. How about 3/2? Because for some reason this morning my brain is having trouble flipping things, and that one's easy. So, how is that 3/4 attached to y? The most important thing, I was yelling these same words in my pre-algebra class yesterday, and that is that fractions are just numbers. Fractions are just numbers. That's all they are. So all the rules are the same. All the rules for fractions are the same as they are for integers, as they are for decimals, as they are for square roots, or whatever else. We haven't even learned square roots yet. No, I was not yelling at Garrett. He wasn't even in the room. Oh, I did say the class, didn't I? Goober man. All right, so this 3/4 is a number next to a variable, right? So that means, how is it attached? Is it added, subtracted, multiplied, or divided? It's multiplication. So we're going to divide that 3/4. Now, how do we divide fractions? Do y'all remember?
No.
It's been a little while since we practiced that. Anybody know remember how to divide fractions? So if I have 1/2 divided by 3/4, what do I do with that? Y'all remember?
Just divide straight across.
Not quite. No, that would be easier if we're multiplying. We multiply straight across. We have to do something with this one first. Y'all remember? Does that clue get us closer? Not to you. Well, let's remind you. What we do to divide fractions is we flip the second one and then multiply. So this is 1/2 times 4/3 on this example. And then you multiply straight across, and you can either reduce at the beginning or at the end, and either way, you end up with 2/3 as the answer over here. Now, let's go back to ours. Wherever it went. Where'd it go? There it is. All right. So, to get rid of this one, we're going to multiply by its reciprocal, because that's the same as dividing, right? That makes sense? How we do it? Pretty good. So the 4s and the 3s cancel over here, leaving us with just y by itself. Equals. And so we've got a negative times a positive. So is my answer going to come out positive or negative? What's our rule for different signs multiplied?
For some reason I thought that 4 was a y.
Negative.
Negative is our answer. Okay. So now we can do this one of two ways, and I'm going to show it both, right? So that we get our practice in good. You can just multiply straight across, and you can end up with 12 over 6 negative, right? I'll leave the negative over here to remind me. And then 12 divided by 6 is what? 2. Okay. So my answer is going to come out to be -2. You could also pre-reduce, right? Over 2 times 4 over 3, and you could reduce. 3 goes into 3 once, right? 4 goes into 2 twice, and 2 into 2 once. So 2 times 1 is 2. 1 times 1 is 1. So our answer is y equals -2. Either way, whether you reduce at the beginning or at the end, you still get -2. All right? How we do it? Pretty good? Let's look at another one like that.
Genuinely mediocre.
But this one, I'm going to let y'all do on your own. And I'm gonna freeze the screen and see how we do. What are we on? We're on example number 4 today, right? All right, let's do. Let me see. Let me see if I can come up with something better looking. Let's do 5/14 times, let's do C equals, let's say 7. No, that's not what I want. That's not what I want at all. Let's do 25 over 28. I think that's what I want. Yeah, that's what I want. It is what I want. Ready, go. Yes, you may. This is just like number 3. So you'll do the steps the same way. I'd recommend reducing first, but if you don't want to do that, you can also always reduce at the end.
Reducing at the end would be reducing.
Yes, reducing the answer once you, yes. Reducing the beginning is where you do the cross out stuff and all that at the beginning. You'll definitely deal with smaller numbers on this problem. But either way, you'll get the right answer though. So
5/14 can't.
that's correct. 5/14 can't reduce. That's true. Get her done, man. Ask for help if you need it. Are you? I fell asleep weirdly on the couch and accidentally slept there till 3:30. So I'm a little tired as well.
I just slept with my eyes open. So that was
How would you know?
because I woke up with my eyes open.
Do your math, man. Do your math.
Well, I'm tired all the time.
Oh my gosh, you and your karate. That's the excuse for everything.
Well, yeah, this is like the place that I actually get to say something
I say you're allowed to complain here. I got you.
about things other than
About
made no
things
sense. I don't
other
complain
than
about
math. Because you love it. You want to marry math.
Well, we're friendly.
We're friendly.
We're on speaking terms.
Answer, would you just multiply through?
Yes, ma'am.
We're on speaking terms.
Were to teach a different subject than math, which one would you?
Well, I have taught math, and I have taught science, and I have taught engineering, and I even taught theater one semester. Or was it a full year? It was a full year.
My dad was an English teacher for a while. But
Yes.
then he was like, nah.
Yes, ma'am?
And 25 and 28.
It cannot.
Well, then why did you say this?
Remember, you can reduce on the diagonal.
I'm done.
So 14 and 28 reduce, and 25 and 5 reduce.
ASO, like that I was saying. ASO, so you make it 14, so which was 8, and I would guess 5.
You can, if that helps you think about how to do it. You don't have to move them. You can actually literally reduce diagonal wise, remember? Like what I did on the other. Hopefully one of these markers works. It's been a while since we practiced this, but you could do like if you have 14 and what is it, 25, right? I don't know if this is the number. 14 and 25 times 5 over 28. I don't think that's the numbers, but it's the same numbers, right? It's the same numbers, but rearranged, right? It's not quite the same problem, but it's got the same stuff. What goes into 14 and 28? 2 does. What's 14 divided by 2?
7.
What's 28 divided by 2?
7.
What?
28 divided by 2. Scratch by 14. What goes into 25 and 5? 5. It's 25 divided by 5. What's 5 divided by 5? 1. Something goes into 7 and 14 as well, right? 2 doesn't go in, but I think you're heading the right track. Because 7 does, right? Right? So 7 divided by 7 is what? 1. What's 14 divided by 7? 2. Where your 2 came from. So if this was the problem, then we would now we've reduced as far as we can. 1 times 1 is 1. 5 times 2 is 10. This is not that problem, not quite, but it's the same numbers and the same idea. So you can reduce like this, or you can reduce at the end. Either way.
So would it be the same answer as that problem?
It'll get this one, no, it's not the same answer. Because I made the numbers at different places. But the work would be the same, kind of, until the end.
Will it turn out to be a fraction?
It does. It turns out to be a mixed number, actually.
That's fine. So you just all do 5 14s times 25 times 5 times 25 20.
Well, it's actually 14/5, right? Because remember, we had to flip it over. So, yeah. But yes. Yes.
Do you flip over the 25 28s or no?
No. You only flip the second. Eight times 5 is 40. Okay, so let me split this before I into the 2 different ways. Okay, there we go. I think that'll clear things up. All right, so you get 2.5 as your answer. Okay, that's fine. Well, that's fine. Take a look at where you are. So if you pre-reduce, this is the work that you do. If you reduce at the end, this is the work that you do. So y'all go ahead and finish your work on this problem. Do it whichever way, and then you can check, but you can check your steps as you go.
Wait, so I did get 350 over 140.
Sure. And so the next part, after you get to 350 over 140, you've got to divide that out to turn that improper fraction into a mixed number. Right? So you got to divide 140 into 350. Yes, ma'am.
When you pre-reduce, how do you know what you multiply?
How do you know what you would multiply by or divide by? Multiply. Okay, so the multiplication step. So once you've reduced all the way, so see once I get out here and I reduce all the way, remember you multiply straight across. So 5 times 1 is 5. 2 times 1 is 2. And then that's still an improper fraction, right? So I divide 2 into 5. So I would go from that step to this step. Is that what you're asking about?
No. Like, how would you know, like, what to multiply 25 to?
Okay, so that's what I was asking. Because you're not what you don't multiply 25. Remember, we're trying to let me rewrite this. The pre-reduced one. So we've got 25 over 28. Because y'all might see I went for the big gun straight away, but you might see something smaller like what we did over there. So let's let y'all walk it through with me. Because on this problem, this way is definitely easier than this way. Definitely. It takes a little practice, which we've already seen a little bit. All right, so we already said we can't reduce this way because 25 and 28 doesn't reduce. We can't reduce that way because 14 and 5 don't reduce. But we can look at the diagonals, right? So does something go into 25 and 5? 5 does, absolutely. So what's 25 divided by 5? Okay, so 25 divided by 5 is 5. And then what's 5 divided by 5? 1. Okay, so now what about 14 and 28? What goes into both 14 and 28? 2 does. What's 14 divided by 2? 7. What's 28 divided by 2? 14. You following, girl? Okay. What goes into 7 and 14? 7 does. That's true.
I it completely wrong.
Oops.
Sounds about right.
What's 7 divided by 7? 1. What's 14 divided by 7? 2. So now we can't reduce anymore, right? Because everything up there is a prime number. Right? Nothing divides into anything else. So now that we've reduced as far as we can go, now you multiply straight across. So 5 times 1, which gives us 5. And then 2 times 1, which gives us 2. Right?
52.
No, it's 5 halves. Not 52. That's right. And so that's why we divide it. So that's why we did 2 divided into 5. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Until you get to algebra 1, and I tell you it doesn't actually matter, and you can leave it as an improper fraction. But for now, the big number can't be on the top.
For now, he's just going to feed us.
You're just gonna lie to us. It's not.
But the cool thing about it is if I make you do this now, and I make you do all this really good work now, then by the time you get to algebra 1, you're gonna be like, oh yeah, that's this and that and the other thing, and the people around you are gonna be looking, how'd you know that? Well, because my teacher made me.
Because he's so big brained.
No. Well, big brain about teaching.
Well, I had
Not always about everything.
I had a math teacher that planted secret social anxiety about that.
Well, hopefully we're unplanting those seeds. We're pulling the weeds out. All right, how are we doing? Any questions on this problem?
Pulling weeds only helps nurture a seed.
Let's do another one like this. What? Yeah, finish it. Where are you, girl? I thought you were finishing it.
Shout at children and call them dumb.
You're like basically at the finish, aren't you? What? Okay. Which way did you do it? Did you do it this way, or did you do it this way? The pre-reduce? Well, then you ought to be like basically done, aren't you? Like basically done? 2.5, right? 2 goes into 5 twice. 2 times 2 is 4. 5 minus 4 is 1. 2 doesn't go into 1, so our answer is 2 1/2. Right? Isn't that basically where you are, right? Because you were following along with this, weren't you? Yeah? Okay, good. I think you're finished, aren't you? C equals 2 1/2. Right? Isn't that where you are? Or am I dreaming that? Because you got this far, didn't you? You got this far, didn't you? Yeah. So then you were doing this, right? Why not? Where were you going from here? Remember, we got to, okay, so where we got to go from here is we can't have this big number on the top. So then we divide it out, right? So that's what we're doing there. I got you. Now I found where you are. So that's why we do this, right? 2 divided into 5. 2 goes into 5 how many times? No, not once. 2 times. What's 2 times 2? 4. And then 5 minus 4 is 1. Now does 2 go into 1? 1 is smaller than 2, right? So it doesn't, right? So now that we've got it down here, we just put this number over this number. So 2 and 1/2, right? And then that's all the way done and reduced. So that's our answer. Okay, let's see how big brain my is. I'm gonna try to come up with another one that comes out kind of pretty. We shall see.
Is it like that one?
Yes.
Okay,
You got this.
Okay, so guess what Fernando is? Fernando.
Oh my gosh.
He's like Fernando.
I'm pretty sure that that's false.
It's not.
I'm pretty sure that the female version of Fernando would be like Francesca or something along those
Okay,
lines.
Siri. There is no Siri.
Because names don't quite work that way. I understand what you're doing, but I don't think that's quite right. All right, so let's do another. How about we do negative
You have 2.
12 fifths
5. Yeah, 5. Yeah.
P equals, let's do 96.
Are we doing this by yourself?
Yeah, 96. Let's do that. 120ths.
We couldn't do 72. No.
No, I literally couldn't have done 72 on that one. I could have done 72 on the top, but I didn't.
You're mean.
Because I want this to reduce. Reduce early. If y'all reduce early, you won't have to multiply it. What?
Let's hope I'm big brain enough.
You got this. One step at a time. Ready, go. We'll stop in the middle. I may kind of reveal stuff as I go. Okay?
There you go.
What?
Can we reduce that?
Do what? Yeah, it would.
So can I change that right away?
You can. You can reduce as early as you wish.
You pre-reduce.
You can like pre-reduce a lot. Absolutely.
You can't reduce the other one because I reduced.
No, not early. Now you're going to be able to reduce even further on the diagonals once you do the multiplication in a minute, but
So when you get to, could you pre-reduce when you get to 96 over 120 times 5 over negative?
yes, you can.
How do you reduce?
Remember, we got to figure out what goes into something on the top and something on the bottom. So we've got to look at our divisibility rules. Like, does 2 go into it? Does 3? Does 12? Does 5?
Which sign does it change if you reduce if you have a negative?
No. What I would do is I would just put the negative down at the bottom to remind yourself that it's going to be negative at the end, and then don't worry about the negative after that. Because all the negative is going to do in this problem is it's going to make our answer negative.
What would I do next?
How would you get rid of that 12 fifths? How did we do it on the last two when we had a fraction times a thing? So you multiply by the reciprocal.
the whole thing's negative, right?
That's right. Yeah, you can technically put the negative any of those places, top, bottom, or middle, but not all three. I guess all three, but not two. You got this, Asher. One step at a time. Look at you're reducing.
Did you say one step at a shrine?
I did, apparently.
One step at a shrine?
It did end up coming out that way.
Or step at a shrine?
It was unintentional, but it might be exciting.
Fair enough. But here's the hive, build up a full bank. You might go dive.
Yes, no, not 4. 5 goes into 125 times. Because 5 times 4. Oh no, you're right. You're right. I'm sorry. My bad. Brooklyn was looking at me like, "What are you talking about, crazy man?" What, man?
So the first thing would be to cross out 12 and
You can do a lot of pre-reducing here. A lot of different ways to do it too.
Would you do 12 but divided by 120?
Yes.
Well, 120 divided by 12, you could do. You could do 12 divided by 12 and 120 divided by 12. Absolutely. Because 12 goes into both of those, which is probably what you meant.
Did you see that? It's all J. There, it's all J, and then we have an E.
So that's one way to start right there. That's not finished. But I did some quick reducing, right? Because 12 goes into 96 and 120.
Why? You're a fly.
This is not the only way to start this problem. 2 goes into those, so you can reduce that even further.
Would you?
You can still, yes, start the way y'all are starting. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. But would the answer to 12 divided by 220 divided by 12 be 1?
Let's see. Let me see if I can follow where you are. So you've got 12 down here, and then so you should have had 12 down here and then 120 down here. Is that right? On your fraction that you're multiplying? And then this was a 5 and this was a 96. Is that right? Is that what you're multiplying right now? Okay, what are you then?
Someday you're gonna be 72 and you're gonna be like 96 and 120 and 12.
Hold on. Okay, so it's got to be it has to be. It's not 12 over 5. That's where. Okay, y'all hush. Thank you. To get rid of this guy, remember we got to multiply by the reciprocal. So we've got to flip it over. So it's got to be 5 over 12. You can. That's the way. Yeah, and then you can reduce from here. So this is where you want to be. So you need to flip over your fraction, and then start from there, and then do some pre-reducing from there. What goes into 5 and what goes into 120? What goes into 96 and 12? Or what goes into 96 and 120? There's a lot of different places we can reduce. Yes. That's what you should be doing right now. This is the step you should be on, going the way you're going. I mean negative, of course, but what? Yeah, so look up here. This is where we started, right? Negative 12 fifths P equals 96 over 120, right? How do we get rid of that negative 12 fifths? We flip it and multiply, right? So times 5 over 12, negative 5 over 12, times negative 5 over 12. We don't really worry about the negative, right? That's not going to affect anything till the end. So that's why this is what we're multiplying. So doing it the way you're headed, that's where you should be, right there.
Can you pre-reduce? I've already pre-reduced.
Good.
And so could you pre-reduce 2 with
So which ones?
the problem with the 96 and
Are you reducing the 96 and the 120, or the 96 and the 12, or the 5 and the 120? Which ones are you reducing? 5 and 120. Oh yeah, so you're doing the yeah. So the 96 and 12, what goes into both of those? Yeah, 6 does. What's 12 divided by 6?
2.
2. What's 96 divided by 6? It does work, doesn't it? Or am I dreaming that? Does it not actually work? That'd be annoying, wouldn't it?
I wrote down
1, 6. Yeah, it does work. It does work. So what's 96 divided by 6?
I wrote down.
Not 7. Do it scratch paper. Do like what I started right here. Scratch paper it if you don't know it in your head. 6 goes into 96. 6 goes into 9 once. 1 times 6 is 6. 16 times, that's right. Okay. And then you can keep on reducing because there's more things that you can reduce at this point.
Could you reduce 124?
120. Where are you getting 124?
5 and 120.
5 and 1. What goes into 5 and 120? 5. So what's 5 divided by 5? And 120 divided by 5?
124.
No, it's not 124. It's just 4, right? Well, not 4, actually. That's not even right. Because 4 times 5 is 20. So 5 goes into 120 is what you're doing, right? So it'd be 2 right here, right?
I think that's just your handwriting.
And then 10, and then break and subtract. We end up with 2. 5 goes into 20 how many times?
20.
No, 5 goes into 20 how many times?
2. I mean,
4 times. Yeah, so 24 is what you're looking for there. So I think you were kind of thinking on the right track, but I think you accidentally stuck them together in your head or something weird. And then you can reduce even more, actually.
but could you reduce 224?
No, because it has to be something on the top and something on the bottom. That's a good question.
16.
16 and 24, sure, absolutely. What goes into 16 and 24? 6 doesn't go into 16. 8 does. So what's 16 divided by 8? 2. What's 24 divided by 8? What times 8 equals 24? That's what we're trying to. 3. I bet we can do one more thing to reduce. Look at the tops and bottoms. What's the very last thing we can do to reduce? 2 and 2.
Is 120 times 12, 1,000.
It would be 144 plus a 0, so yes. So that's as reduced as it'll go. Now you just multiply straight across is where you go from there.
So that will be.
Yeah, negative, right? But yes. Okay. So there's our answer. And this on the left side is how I got the answer. This is some scratch work for another way to get the answer. Any quick questions? Because I'm about to write some homework on the board. A whole mountain.
Civic Center.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, so I have 48 over 1,400. So can I just reduce it?
Yes, ma'am. Don't forget the negative at the end, but yep. What did you say you had 48 over what?
1,404.
Yeah. If you reduce it right, you should get the right answer. So you just got to reduce it. But don't worry about that right now because I'm going to write down some homework. You can come back and catch that later. Y'all's favorite, homeworks.
It's actually my least favorite.
Oh my gosh, quit crying. It's so good for you. It's like Brussels sprouts. They're so good for you, and maybe someday you'll learn to love them.
Brussels sprouts aren't bad.
I like Brussels
They are
sprouts.
like anti-making, but I don't like them. They're terrible if my aunt is making them.
They're terrible when your aunt is making them.
Well, carrots are terrible when my mom makes
The only bad thing about Brussels sprouts, in my opinion, is they smell crazy. Other than that, I think they're quite tasty, especially if you cook them with a little bacon.
Well, one day.
Y'all like Brussels sprouts?
Never in a million years.
I know we're not with bacon, but
never in a million years would I take Brussels sprouts over steamed broccoli.
steamed broccoli? Steamed broccoli's all right. Roasted is better. Roasted veggies are just better, generally speaking.
Like
What?
roasted or
It'd be like cooked in the oven, like baked, essentially.
Well,
So, here's your problems. Let's see what we can do. Let's do negative 3/5 x equals negative 18 25ths. Number 2 is going to be y minus 10 all over 3 equals negative 12. Number 3 is going to be negative 5 plus z. He didn't say it. Divided by, all divided by, negative 6 equals negative 2. Number 4, probably 6. That's what I'm thinking. But that doesn't sound like a whole mountain, so maybe more. I don't know. We'll see. Let's do 64.
72.
Sure, 70 seconds. We'll make a deceptively easy problem. How's that sound? A problem that looks scary but may not be. A equals, let's say, 16 over. We'll make it really deceptively easy. We'll make it over 12. How's that sound? Scary, but it's not that scary. Okay.
It looks easy though. So does it look easy and it's hard?
Technically, number 1 and number 4 is one step, but since we're doing the fractions by hand, it's kind of a lot of steps. But those are technically one-step equations.
Why is number 3?
Because my 3 accidentally started to look like an 8. It looks a lot like, on my screen, it looks less like an 8 than it does on y'all up there, but it definitely looks like an 8, but it's a 3.
Have 8 plus?
Number 5
Oh no.
is going to be negative x minus 1 equals negative 1. And finally, number 6 is going to be negative 1024
Oh, it's even.
over 25 y equals, did we do, yeah, we already did, so let's do this as a positive 512 over 75. If you pre-reduce, that problem is easy. If you don't, it's not harder, just much longer. That's all I've got for you. Goodbye, kids.
I'm still writing.
Well, good. I won't take it off the screen for you. Let me freeze it so I can stop this recording.
I never got to see